We are live now, Divya.
Thank you, Kranti. Hello, everyone. In our previous session, we have seen how to extract the data for the same invoice form, in which we have extracted the invoice number, date, due date, balance, address, and also the line items. And also, we have done the extraction of the line items as a table element and as well as by using the repeating group, right? So once after we are done with the extraction of the data from the layout, there are other cosmetic things which needs to be taken care from the Abbyy. So today in this session, let's see how to convert specific format or how to do any of the cosmetic changes if needed, and if there is any extra script needs to be added for each and every element. How are we going to handle that in this session? Right. So this is sample which I have taken in our previous session. So let me run the same sample, and we'll see what is the value which has been extracted and what needs to be changed. Okay. So here, yeah, this is the invoice number. That's correct. Date has been extracted properly. That is correct. And if you just look at this balance due, it is actually the 500, but it is reading it as 1500. But it is able to give me this as a the confidence of this number is too low, and it has been highlighted in the red. So it is basically going to the manual indexing based on the confidence level we are going to set it up, right? And here is the value for the address and also the line items values. So here we do have, but here, okay, 100, that's correct. And here unit price is a minus, and here it is a positive. So how to fix these kind of issues and how are we going to handle these things? So let's go ahead and check. So before we go for the cosmetic things, let's check what we have done for this element here in the Flexi Layout Studio. And inside of this values, and I'll go to the repeating group, and the amount value is the one which that was supposed to be negative, but I was getting the positive value. And here, what I can just do here is, instead of all, I'll go to the selected, and I'm just going to select some other value, and I'm just going to click here. If you just look at this negative value is not identifying. But now we know the unit price is always, at least the same as the amount value, right? So let's see how are we going to take this unit price to the amount in the document definition level, right? So here I need to fix this, and obviously I need to fix this. So this will go to a manual indexing. So I can just go ahead and add this, and I can convert that into a manual in the validation station basically. Okay, so here I'm just going to click on testing, finish test. And now basically whatever the values which we have passing from the layout is everything as in the text format, because I did not want it to pass anything as a specific value, or I did not want it to make a failure because of some reasons if it is not able to find out any of the values. So here there is an option for each and every values which we are going to extract here. So invoice number, in this invoice number, we know it is always a number. So I can just go to the data. Here it is a text. So here I can just go ahead and change that to the number. And as soon as I'm done with the number, there are multiple options, whether what are the values which needs to be allowed and what needs to be done if it contains the fractional part, and any other properties or the normalization things, we will be able to handle this here. So here, after I'm done with this, okay, this is a 6-number digit. So I can just use the normalization, and you can just give what is the minimum number of digits in the integer part. So I'm just going to give 6. 6. It should be always 6. And I do not want this in the decimal part basically. So here I make it as 6, and then here in the edit I'm just giving only the integer values. So basically whatever it comes with the decimal, it's not going to pick it up. So I have made two conditions here for the invoice number. So one is it should be the number, and then in the normalization I have given minimum number of digits should be 6, and I'm not allowing any of the decimal parts over here. So that's how we can just go ahead and create a strict rules for each and every values which we are going to create. So let's go and run the test run once. Okay, cannot use the normalization format. Okay, so I'm just going to edit this normalization form. Okay, and run this test. Test. Okay, I was able to get actual number format, not in the text format. And then the invoice date. So let's convert this date into from the text to the actual date. Testing. I'm just going to finish test. And then invoice date. I can just go here and convert that to the date. And if you want any of the default values, you can just go ahead and give those default values. So whenever there is no value which has been extracted from the layout, whatever which we are passing, then if you want to just, okay, if there is no date to extract from the layout, and if you want to give the today's date as a default value, you can just go ahead and provide those default values here. And let me check what is the exact format of the date which we are taking it here, and I'll be able to give that specific format. So this is okay, MMDDYY format. I'll go here, edit, and setup. It is always month, date, and year. And I'm going to remove this. So here, if you're not sure whether it is a MMDDYY or DDMMYY format, you can just go ahead and select all of them. And whatever the highest priority you are looking for, if the most of them is in month, date, and year, you should move this to the up. And then you can just move the other values which you are expecting very least to the down. Okay. And here, apart from the forward slash, if you want to add anything as a separators, you can just go ahead and add them. And if you're expecting if the date might be in the words or include the day of the week or any of the time, if it might contains the time, you can just go ahead and add these properties also, right? So I'm just going to use these things, apply. And if you want to add any of the conditions, right, you can also add those conditions, use normalization, edit. So here you're going to give the format, specific format, how you're expecting this to extract it, and then date delimiter is what it has. And if it has the time, you can just go ahead and add any of the time. And if you want to give specific time delimiter also, you can just go ahead and have this. So there are different ways to handle the same properties basically. So here, the same properties I have added, I have just make a changes over here. Or if you want to make some changes in the normalization, you can just go ahead and add in the normalization as well. And also there is another way to do it. If you do not want to add any of these things here, and you can just go ahead here, rules, and then you can just go ahead and write your own scripts here. So based on the values, okay, if this condition is true, if the date value is not empty, then you can just go here, click on next, and then if you want to edit the value of that specific field, then definitely you just have to remove this read only, and then you can just go ahead and edit, and here you can just go ahead and write your own script, which I'll be talking later sometime. Here it is not necessary that you have to follow only one language for the scripting. So here you do have the multiple languages: JScript, VBScript, C Sharp, .NET, and JScript.NET. You can just use any of these things to choose for the scripting. So you can just achieve the same functionalities or the actions in multiple ways. So I'm just going to click on cancel for now, and I'm using this in the data level itself. And yes, recognition. What is the properties of recognition over here? So this is a very common tab where you will be able to see in all the elements which you have created so far. So if you have any of the values in the handwritten, then you can just go for the ICR. Or if it is all a standard printed value, you can just go ahead and click on the OCR. But if you are expecting, yes, it is a machine printed, but you are not sure about the format, how it has been typed, whether it comes from the fax, whether it comes from the typewriter, or it comes from the computer. If you're not sure about it, you can just click on the advanced and click on the modify, and here you will be able to see all the values. So you can just go ahead and select all of these things: hand printed, typewriter, matrix printer, basically indexing, and all types of OCR available, and also the options. And if you want to use any of the specific pattern, if you have any of the pattern of your own customized pattern, you can just save that pattern from the .NET layouts which you are going to create. You can create your own pattern by using a Visual Studio, and then you can import that pattern also here, and then you can click on OK. And making the type, marking type. What is this marking type is? For example, simple. This is a simple one basically, and this is the underlined. This is the box, and we have a different types of the marking type. When are we going to use this specific values? So here in the example, invoice number is just a plain text 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I'm sorry, but there are chances where the invoice number has been printed in individual boxes. So the best example for this is a bank channel. In the bank channel, whenever we are going to fill our account numbers, or whenever we are going to fill something with respect to the banks, the account number will be always inside of the each and every individual letters will always be in a printed in different boxes. So in that cases, you can just go ahead and choose the specific pattern to go ahead and run it. And also, if you know exact pattern which you are going to use, you can just choose that specific pattern. If you are not sure about this, then by default it will be a simple. Okay. So this is about the recognition, and yeah, if you have any other option, okay, orientation. If you have any of this orientation, if you know it is horizontal, you can just go ahead with the horizontal. But if there is any values which are in the vertical orientation, you can just select the orientation, whether it is from top to bottom or whether it is from the bottom to top. You can just mention that orientation as well here. And how are you going to process it, and what is this invention, and what is this do not invert? Basically, auto detect will be the best to go, but if you want to any of this image pre-processing to be handled, and if you want to invert is basically like here we have the clear text, right? But there are some samples where you will be able to see there are a lot of background stamps or any of the values to be. The best example for this is, let's consider the mark sheets. Basically, whatever the processes we are working on in our current processes, whatever the marks cards which we take, the whole marks cards will be, the background of the whole marks cards will be, there will be one logo, and there will be a lot of like the university which we have studied, and maybe the school name which we have studied. Everything will be printed in the backend. And in that case, you have to remove all those image pre-processing. I mean, you have to remove all those chunks, noises, and everything, and apply a image pre-processing before we process it. So those are the properties which comes in the basically image pre-processing. But I would suggest, as a Abbyy developer, do not use this image processing over here, because we will be able to handle the image processing for the whole document level, not with respect to the field level. So this is with respect to the recognition properties or the recognition tab, what we do have here. And then let's come to the verification. When we require verification and when we do not need the verification, and what is the values which we are going to process it. So here we have seen only two letters were highlighted in red color when I processed the output previously, right? So let's do a strict percentage. So now I'll increase the confidence level to 80%. So what I'm saying is, like, for me, even the whatever the value which has been extracted from Abbyy should be at least minimum of 80% of the correct value. Then only it has to go for the processing. If it is less than 80%, this has to go for a verification, or it has to be notified me. So now I just choose this to the 80%. So let's see now. So let me change all this to 80% and I'll show you guys the difference. Right, address is going to give me the values balanced due and 80% apply. Okay, so let's see testing, run test, and here, okay, the confidence level is so good in this, so it's not a problem. But yeah, whenever you're seeing a very bad quality of the samples, right? So I'll show you the what I mean by the bad quality of the sample. So here we have the very good confidence level, so we don't have to take care of it. So here, but still you have this S at the end, and you will be there's no S here basically, but you're still able to seeing an S here. So how am I going to handle all these things? Definitely we are going to handle all these things in the normalization level. So how can I do a normalization over here? So what I can just do is I'll just go finish test, and I'm just going to add one of the value, create field, and here also there is no necessity that you always have to go ahead and create the fields from the blocks itself. When are you going to create the fields from the blocks is when you are definitely sure that these values should be passed from the layout. But let's consider, okay, I have this invoice number and I have this balance due value has been exported properly. So now I want to check whether this is a valid invoice or not. So based on if to check the invoice is correct or not, is it contains, let's consider it contains two values, two conditions. One is it must contains the invoice number, and also my condition is it must contains the balance due. So whenever I'm scanning any of the invoices and whenever I'm processing it through Abbyy, I have to indicate one flag that I have to check the values of these two. And if it contains the values in both invoice number and balance due, then it is a valid. So let's see how I can do this. So for this, I'm just going to add one field here. So let me take it as text. Okay, I don't want this as this one. I'm just going to use valid invoice, and I'm going to say whether it's a true or false, and data, and let it be the text which I'll be able to handle it in the database level or in the Excel level. And I don't care about this recognition because it does not has any of the recognition. So how are you going to do that is here in the, okay, but yes, if you just look at the elements difference here and this, So show on the verification correct. Okay, export field correct, should be matched correct. So show the fields in preview. If you want to go ahead and have the preview, you can just go ahead and add it. So this is a quite little, I would say the 12.1, 12.0.1 version which I'm using it here. But whenever you are using 12.0.3 or more, then you will be able to have a little more properties over in this. So where you will be able to see it has the exact extraction region to be have it, or it has been extracted from the layout. You will be having those options also over here. Okay, so here I have taken this valid invoice. Show on the verification. I don't want to see this in the verification because it is just a true or false, which I'm adding it based on the values which has been extracted. So I'm just going to go to the rules, add new rule, and I'm going to write my own script. So okay, so check for validity, and I don't want, if there is any error in this, I don't want this to go for an error, because this is just always the script which is just going to indicate me either true or false. And I can just go here and add this when this is not empty valid invoice. You can just go ahead and add invoice number is not empty, add, and click on OK. Okay, and then I'm just going to enable the rule. Yes, go to the next here. So yes, I have two conditions here to pass to whether it is a true or false, right? So based on what? Based on the invoice number and based on the balance due. So I'm just going to click on close, and I'm just going to use the invoice number and the balance due as a read only, because I'm just reading these two values, and based on the output of these two values, I'm going to edit the value of valid invoice. So I'm going to make this as a writable, and I'm going to keep these two as a read only, and I'm going to click on edit. So here I'm just going to use the JavaScript, and what I'm just going to do is like this. So here you will be able to see what needs to be extracted and how you can always will be able to access the elements from which specific object, right? So let's write if condition, if open this dot field of double quote, you will be able to see what is exactly you're getting, right? So I want to check the invoice number dot text dot length is greater than 0, and this dot field of, and this dot, and I'm not going to close this, and this dot field of double quote of balance due dot text dot length dot length is greater than 0. Okay, so let's just check. Okay, this is the open brace and close brace. This is the open brace and close brace, and this is the open brace and the close brace. And I'm just going to write it here. If this is the condition, then this dot field of valid invoice dot text dot text is equal to true. Else this will be false. Okay, whenever you're going to click on this one, you can click on check. If the script is correct or not, if you want to check, you can just click on check. It will just show you whether the script is correct or not. The only challenge where you will be able to see here is you will not be able to compile it or debug it very easily as it is available in the other programming languages. That's all. So if you want to check, okay, you have written the script now. If you just want to check how the values is, you can just click on this run text and give some text in the balance due and the invoice number. Basically, I'm just taking it and then click on check. Okay, so here it is coming as false. Okay, let me see why. Because it should supposed to be a true. Okay, and I'm just going to remove this now. And let's see, this is the invoice number. Okay, invoice. Okay, and this greater than, else save, choose, run test. I'm going to remove this anyway. 1 2 3 4 5 and 6 7. Check. This is going to be false. Let me remove this. Okay. Run test and check. I have not even given this. Save. Tools, run test 3 4 5 6 7 and check. Okay, basically it is not taking this invoice number, so that's where it is going to the false always. Okay, so just let's run this, finish, apply. Okay, test and the run test, and due element, testing, finish testing. Okay, I'll go to the general, show field in the preview pane and the verification for now. Okay, I'll just save this and then testing and run test. Okay, here I'm getting an invalid value. So this is what exactly the most probably the challenge which you guys will be facing. So let me change this back to text and let's see what comes here. Apply. Okay, and now let's run this. Tools, why I have the value. Okay, I have in the text format. I have, okay, here it is. I'll go back to OCR and this is 60%. Okay, rules. Okay, and general invoice number. Okay, let me apply this always. And I'm just going to edit this rule settings, correct, edit, Okay, this dot field of this dot text dot length check. Okay, is greater than 0. Then I'm going to fill this as true. Okay, save, close. Okay, close, save this, and then testing and run test. Come on. Document section, add section 1 invoice number I have taken. That's correct. Did test CDFG check. Just passing and everything. Okay, let me check if what is actually going on is equal to text is equal to, I'm just going to add the same text as this dot field of invoice number dot text. Okay, so let me check this. Okay, tools, run test, check. Okay, I'm getting this properly. So the function length has some problem. So if of this dot field of invoice number dot text dot gth length is greater than 0. That's correct. Okay, now let's see whether I'm able to get these values or not. I'm just going to remove this and check. Okay, and now I'm just going to add this as true. Tools, run test, check, true. Okay, yeah, so that was with respect to the double quote. And now I'm just going to add another condition here, and this dot field of balance due dot text dot length is greater than 0. And I'm just going to check this. Correct, save, close. Okay, and I'll close this. Save, testing, and run test. And here you are able to see the true. And if you just want, if there is no values in the invoice number or any of this balance due, you can just go here and add this here, the default value as false, and whenever the condition is true in this specific rule, then it is going to insert the value as a true. So you can just go ahead and add your own scripts over here. It is not only about always a custom script, right? So you can just go ahead and add your own scripts. Just a okay, if I click on new rule, here you have the calculate sum. Check the sum, whether both of them are correct or wrong. compare the fields. If you want to compare any of two fields, for example, let's have a balance due. Okay, let's consider subtotal and the total. And if you want to compare the subtotal and the total, you can just use this compare fields. And if you want to check any of the values in the database, you can just go ahead and add this database check. And the merge fields. For example, you have this first field, middle name, and the last name as a different fields. And if you just want to merge all of them into a just single field as a name, then you can just go ahead and add this as a merge fields. And if you want to add any of the your custom or related values, or if you want to remove any of the special characters, or if you want to just like based on the value of the other fields, if you want to modify the existing value of the current field, then you can just go and add your own script. So this is a very basic, level of scripting, how you can just go ahead. So maybe in our coming session, I'm just going to tell you how are you going to add any of the references. Also, how you can just import the .NET references over here, and how are you going to add the proper scripting when to compare the fields from one to other, or from the values from the database, or how to export these values to the database. And if you want all of those data to be calculated over here, and not all the data should be exported to the database, all these things we will be able to see it in our next sessions. So any questions in the basics, properties of the elements which are there in the document definition and the basic scripting?
No, Divya, we don't have any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Kranti.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye, Divya.